Hello and welcome to Virtual Open Day. I'm Samarth and I'm currently the Associate Head of School Teaching and Learning for Economics in the Deakin Business School. And I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to talk to you about economics programs at Deakin. At the end of this session, there will also be a live Q&A where we'll have an opportunity to answer your questions. Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which Deakin campuses are based. The Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, on whose country our Geelong campuses are located. The Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, on whose country our Burwood campus is located. And the Peak Wurrung people of the Maar Nation, on whose country our Warrnambool campus is located. I'd now like to thank you for taking an interest in pursuing studies at Deakin. Deakin is indeed a great place for you to invest in your education because over the past 5 decades, the university has made huge strides to be now considered among the top 1% of universities worldwide. Also, the Deakin Business School, within which the economics program is located, is double accredited by both the US-based AACSB as well as the European accreditation agency EQUIS. And what this means is that we have joined the elite group of top 1% business schools worldwide, which have both of these accreditations. This means that the programs that we offer not only meet but exceed some important international quality benchmarks. The other important thing to keep note is that students are at the center of Deakin's mission. And that is why it's not surprising that Deakin has been coming at the top of Victorian education surveys, which query students about their student satisfaction. So overall then, Deakin is a great place for you to come and study. We look after our students well, and also students have great employability outcomes. Okay, so briefly now, a quick overview of what I'll do in this session. So I'll essentially, I'll first introduce to you the discipline of economics and explain why is it such an interesting discipline to pursue, and give you a bit of an overview of the programs within which you can pursue economics, the various entry pathways, and also how Deakin value adds to your education and enhances your employability. So let's dive in and let's talk about economics. Well, economics is actually a very broad social science, which is ultimately concerned about human decision-making, resource allocation, and our overall well-being. From everyday media reports, it is quite natural to construe economics in relatively narrower terms, in terms of it's about making money or profit, it's about economic growth or per capita incomes, but actually it is a much wider discipline, and insights from economics influence our everyday life in a variety of ways, from very simple decisions like deciding whether to get a takeaway tonight versus cooking the meals on your own, to more broader decisions in terms of how we spend our incomes, to much more critical choices such as what degree you'll pursue at the university, to even the domain of what are considered traditionally as emotional choices in terms of what the family size is going to be. And at the society's level, economics helps us navigate some important trade-offs and ethical dilemmas, such as how do we go about valuing human life, as well as how do we protect our natural environment, and particularly, let's say, if we want to protect a pristine coastline, whose valuation is inherently subjective and not revealed directly in dollar terms, as it's not a commodity that's traded, bought or sold in the marketplace. So as you can see, economics has a wide variety of applications. And that is why when we teach economics in our courses, we train students to think in analytical and abstract ways using models, because then those models can be applied to a whole variety of interesting scenarios and real world contexts. We also equip our students with data skills so that they can analyze real world data to understand causes of various economic phenomena, and as well as the impacts of various policy initiatives. So as you can see, in this context, then the economics training is very highly valued by employers, and it's going to become even more relevant as we navigate the challenges of charting a path of recovery in the post-COVID world. So economics is not only an excellent discipline to pursue in its own right, but it is also a great support discipline for various range of courses. So for example, students who already have their mind set in pursuing, let's say, a major in finance or accounting find it very valuable to pick up economics as a second major or a minor, or students pursuing a double degree would pick economics as one of their specializations in one of the degrees that they're doing. And let me briefly also talk about why is it particularly great to study economics at Deakin. And that's because the Department of Economics at Deakin has gained a solid reputation both at the national and international levels. We are top 3 in Victoria, top 10 in Australia, and within the top 1% of departments worldwide. And this is an achievement that we made through both our teaching and our research. And it's based on the feedback that we receive from our students, our graduates, and our peers in the profession. So on the next, here what we are showing you is just a bit of a sample of the various applications of economics which find an expression in our teaching programs, such as labor economics, health economics, environmental economics, and sustainability. And obviously public policy. And these are not the only areas to which economic thinking applies to. There are many other areas, but these are the areas that align reasonably well with the research expertise of the department and therefore find a bigger expression in our teaching programs. So now let me go on to talk a little bit about how would you pursue an economics study within Deakin. So economics programs within Deakin are housed under 2 undergraduate degrees, the Bachelor of Commerce and the Bachelor of Business. And what happens if you decide to pursue either of these 2 degrees, in the first year, you'll be exposed to a core common set of subjects. And the underlying idea is to expose students to the key ideas of various disciplines. And then when you get to your second year, that's when you decide when you'll have to choose at least one major. And within that context, in the Bachelor of Commerce, you could elect to choose an economics major. And within the Bachelor of Business, you can choose to study the more interdisciplinary sustainability and development major. Now, apart from choosing these majors, you would also have the option of pursuing an economics qualification in terms of a minor. So you could pursue an economics minor or an international trade minor. And these options are available both within the Bachelor of Commerce and the Bachelor of Business. And I should point out that more often than not, students don't limit themselves to one major. They would land up doing multiple majors. And let's say a student who wants to do, let's say a finance major probably would want to pick up economics as a second major. Or if you're doing an accounting major, you may want to pick up economics as a minor or international trade as a minor. So let's now go into a little bit more details about what does it mean to study an economics major within the Bachelor of Commerce. So the economics major within the Bachelor of Commerce comprises of 8 core units. And the second year, there are 4 compulsory units. And what these units do is develop the foundational analytical tools within the 2 main branches of economics, which is microeconomics and macroeconomics, as well as equip you with tools for data analysis. Then when you get to your third year, that's when you have an opportunity, you have some electives and an opportunity to customize your major to your interests and to your career goals. So students who who aspire to be involved in more quantitative research in their careers down the road pick the more quantitative third year electives, and those much more interested in policy advice and applications and consultancy roles pick up the more policy application based electives in the third year. Now, apart from the economics major, as I said, there's also the option of studying an economics minor or an international trade minor. And minors are smaller sequences involving 4 units in total. As you can see from this slide, the economics minor there's quite a bit of choice when it comes to doing an economics minor, so you can customize it to your interests and to your career plans. And there's also this option of international trade minor, where you learn about it's a more specialized minor, where you learn about the key drivers of international trade, determinants of exchange rates, and how macroeconomic policy works in a globalized open economy context. Moving on to our major within the Bachelor of Business, there we offer the Sustainability and Development major. So in this major, we not only, there are some units that we directly teach, that the department directly teaches, such as the growth, inequality and conflict, business and climate change, global challenges, energy, environment and sustainability. But we've also pooled together expertise from other areas of the university, such as the School of Life and Environmental Sciences and the Faculty of Arts. And we've borrowed units that they offer as well to allow students to develop a much more rounded and multidisciplinary perspective in tackling environmental and sustainability challenges. And the sort of careers that students would pursue at the end of this major would be policy advice on environmental and sustainability issues. So that's so with that general introduction about how you may want to pursue economics at Deakin, let's talk a little bit about the multiple entry pathways into the main degrees within which economics programs are nested. And so as you can see, there are essentially two main pathways of getting into an undergraduate degree at Deakin. The more standard pathway is the school leaver pathway. Well, if you're finishing your year 12 this year or in the past couple of years, this is the typical pathway you would take to come into university. And here, one of the key entry determinants for direct entry into the course of your choice is the ATAR score. And as the slide shows, the ATAR score varies both in terms of the course you want to pursue as well as the campus you want to pursue. And this is partly demand driven. So for example, Melbourne campus gets a lot of students. And so inevitably then the ATAR score for entry at the Melbourne Burwood campus tends to be higher relative to other campuses. But one important thing that I'd like to mention here is to not get disheartened if you don't directly meet the ATAR score for the campus of your choice or for the course of your choice, because there's lots of internal mobility at Deakin. So for example, if you don't directly get into, if you're wanting to study at the Melbourne campus at Deakin, but you don't directly get in there, then you have the option of starting your course either at the Waterfront campus, let's say, or even at the Cloud campus. And then if you do sufficiently well, you can migrate into the Melbourne campus in let's say your second year of study. Similarly, if you were planning to do multiple, if you had a couple of courses on your mind and you couldn't get into your most preferred course straight away, you could start the other course, and if you're doing well, you can then migrate into your course of your choice. And even if there's not a direct path, or there's not a direct way for you to get into the university straight away in first year, you have the option of pursuing a diploma at one of the TAFEs or let's say at Deakin College, and then that would give you a pathway into the course of your choice in the second year in your education journey. So the bottom line is you should not think that there's only one way of getting into Deakin. There are multiple ways. And if you have your heart set and if you're determined to work hard, you'll probably find yourself studying the course of your choice at Deakin. Now, the other main category for people to come into Deakin is the non-school leaver category. And this is a growing important category over time. And this comprises people who've built some work experience and who now want to come back and pursue a different degree or a new degree at the university. And because in this context, the circumstances vary quite a bit from people to people, there are multiple alternative pathways for you to get in. For example, you could have completed a certificate in a related discipline, or you could have pursued a diploma in an affiliated institution, or you could even get into Deakin basis the relevance of your work experience. So there's multiple ways by which you can get in through this category. And uh, so again, if you want to pursue a degree at Deakin, there's probably going to be a pathway letting you in to Deakin. Okay, now just very quickly about the entry requirements for international students. Well, for international students, there are two layers here. Obviously, there's an English um, eligibility requirement, which is based on the IELTS score. And there's also academic entry requirements. And these are where the university tries to establish some equivalency between the Australian Year 12 and the corresponding academic achievements in respective countries. And if you're an international student, I'd particularly encourage you to attend and applying to Deakin session dedicated to international students. And you can find more details and link um, using the schedule available to you. Okay. Um, the other thing that I should mention is the opportunity to pursue a double degree at Deakin. So for example, if your heart is set at pursuing a commerce degree, you're not just limited to pursuing a commerce degree. If you want, you can combine it with another degree, let's say the arts or the law or the science degree. Similarly, the Bachelor of Business can also be studied as a double degree with Bachelor of Arts. And what are the advantages of doing a double degree? So as you can appreciate, it immediately separates you from the wider pool of graduates, having a more expanded set of qualifications. And what it also means is the employability options multiply because you have now qualifications for a much wider pool of careers that you could pursue. And on the cost side, it's actually not particularly expensive to pursue a double degree because what it involves is just investing one extra year and paying an extra year of fees or having an extra year of tax burden. And in the process, so instead of spending 3 years at Deakin, you would spend 4 years. And by investing that extra year into Deakin, you would then land up getting 2 undergraduate degrees. So as you can see, it's quite a cost-effective option and something that you should consider, particularly if you can afford to spend an extra year at the university. Okay, so to kind of summarize our discussion then, if your heart is set at studying economics at Deakin, there are multiple ways of coming in. You could be a school leaver and you could come in directly through your ATAR score, or you could come in by doing an affiliated degree or qualification through TAFE or through Deakin College, or you could use your work experience if you're a non-school leaver to come through Deakin through that channel. So again, the bottom line is that there are many alternative pathways to come to Deakin, and you shouldn't feel as if the ATAR is the only underlying factor that's going to determine your way into the university. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the next half of the talk, I'm going to spend a bit of time talking about how Deakin enhances your learning experience and and boosts your employability prospects at the end of your journey. And one excellent opportunity at Deakin is work integrated learning. So instead of doing just a regular unit with classes and seminars, if you pick up a work integrated learning unit, such as a consultancy experience, then you'll be actually be linked with a real organization, and you'll employ the skills that you're learning at university to help them on a real project. And in the process, expand your network, demonstrate your ability to take initiative, work in teams, and also progress to your degree because that unit would count towards your undergraduate degree. So it's an excellent opportunity to demonstrate to your future employers that you can take initiative and work in teams. And I'd encourage you to consider this option. The other opportunity is is the employability. So broadly speaking, then in terms of employability, as you can see, because economics has such a wide array of applications, the career opportunities from economics are many and they're very diverse. So apart from the traditional career options, like working in the banking or the finance sectors, you could be working, providing policy advice in various government departments, or as a consultant or working at a consultancy firm. You could be working in a global agency like World Trade Organization or the OECD, or you could be even have an opportunity to travel abroad and work in a developing country or work for a not-for-profit. So the thing is, because of the diverse applications to which economics relates to, you'll probably find something that you're passionate about, which has relevance to your economics training. And as this slide shows, this is an excerpt from the Age, which kind of gives you a snapshot of how that economics actually pays you reasonably well, right? So the Age found that economists were among the top 10 highly paid professions in Victoria in 2018, and there's also recent evidence pointing to economics doing well in the job market in the US context as well. So the key point to take away is economics can give you a satisfying career that's aligned to your passion and also a good standard of living, because as an economist, you're probably going to be paid reasonably well. Okay. All right. So where are our graduates now? And as I just mentioned, they are in they are in diverse areas. Some have found employability in consultancy firms such as Deloitte, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Some have found their way into investment banks and investment agencies like superannuation funds, research roles, government agencies. Economics graduates find themselves in a whole variety of places. Okay, now the other great opportunity at Deakin is the opportunity to study abroad. And you can study abroad. You can you can pick a program that suits your priorities. You can do a short course which just involves about a couple of weeks, or you could even go away for a whole trimester or for a whole year, as Deakin's established partnerships with many universities worldwide to make this happen. And so as you can see, this by itself is a really exciting prospect to go and learn about a different culture and see how your knowledge has to be customized and applies in a different context is a very rewarding experience in itself. But at the same time, it again shows initiative because to potential employers, because you're showing your willingness to come out of your comfort zone, and you're showing your adventurous side by going out there and spending time abroad doing your studies. So again, it's an excellent opportunity. But keep in mind that obviously the travel opportunities will depend on how the world negotiates the pandemic. But at the moment, things are looking quite good in this space. Um, okay, so here is a very quick snapshot of student journey. And the key point to note here is that this student particularly was doing a double degree, Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of International Studies, doing a major in economics. But they not only restricted themselves to focusing on their studies, they took opportunity of all the various additional opportunities that Deakin provides. They actively participated in Deakin Commerce Society, which showed initiative. They took advantage of the study abroad opportunities. They took up an internship, all this while continuing their studies at Deakin. And then ultimately they landed up getting a career at the ANZ Bank. So again, the key point there is to go beyond your academic studies and fully embrace the variety of opportunities that Deakin provides to help you boost your employability prospects. Now, the other great thing about studying at Deakin is the excellent digital resources that we provide to our students, because digital is part of Deakin's DNA. And this is fantastic news if you're planning to study Deakin purely as a cloud or an online student. But even if you're studying on campus, we all know how busy your life is going to be as a student, balancing work and personal circumstances with your study. And there will be challenges, there'll be times when you'll miss your classes and seminars. And that's when having an absolutely equivalent digital experience available to you through our unit sites will be very, very valuable. And indeed, what we've noticed is increasingly, regardless of the campus and the mode in which students study, they find it very rewarding to rely on digital resources that we create in our teaching. Um, Finally, quickly, a little bit about the support at Deakin. Deakin supports you in a variety of ways, financially through scholarships and financial support, but also through an array of student services. And there's a particular student service that I want to point out is the mentor program. So as a first year student, you'll have an opportunity to apply and be linked with a more senior student at Deakin who would have the lived experience of adjusting through their first year and will give you valuable tips on how to survive and thrive in the university. And this speaks to the goodwill of the student community at Deakin, and you'll have an opportunity to return that favor later when you've progressed to your second year by volunteering to be a mentor yourself. And this also looks really good on your CV as another act of showing initiative. And uh, the other thing that I'd like to quickly point out is Deakin Talent. Deakin takes employability very, very seriously. And Deakin Talent is a dedicated unit within the university that helps students plan ahead for the career at the end of their university journey. So they will be in contact with you all through your studies from first year till the last year. And they'll help you map your career goals, write resumes, job applications. They'll organize employment workshops, link you with potential employers. So it's a great agency within Deakin that helps boost our graduates' employability prospects. Okay, just quickly then to summarize, how would you apply? If you're in the school leaver track, you would apply through the VTAC website. And if you're in the non-school leaver track, you would apply directly through Deakin through the link put up on the slide. If you're an international student, again, I'd strongly encourage you to follow one of our information sessions, which are particularly dedicated to support you in your application at Deakin. So in the end, I'd like to genuinely thank you for listening to this information session, and it's great to see your interest in economics. And I'd encourage you to stay back for the live Q&A session where we'll have an opportunity to answer your questions. Thank you for listening. Hello and welcome to Economics Q&A live session. I'm Samarth, and I'm a senior lecturer in the Department of Economics and currently the Associate Head of School Teaching and Learning in the Department of Economics in Deakin Business School. It's a pleasure for me to introduce our expert panel today who are here to answer your questions. I'll start with Nobeen, who is also a senior lecturer in the Department of Economics and also the Deputy Course Director for Bachelor of Commerce. We have Chris, who is a senior officer with the Work Integrated Learning area. And we also have Bradley, who is our student ambassador, and he's currently pursuing Bachelor of Commerce with a major in economics. So we are here today to answer your questions. So please feel free to post any questions that you have in the Q&A box in the top corner of your screen. And because this is a timed session, I just wanted to remind you that if there are some questions that we are unable to answer, our experts are available all through the day to take your queries. So please feel free at the end of this session to post any additional questions you have in the yellow chat area, and somebody will be able to help you with your queries. Okay, so I think it's time to get started with the questions. And we'll just have, so I guess our first question comes from Sylvia, and he's asking what sort of pathways can I take as an industry professional?
May I answer that question?
Sure, Nobeen, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is a very interesting and nice questions, and these questions we addressed in this morning as well while I was a deputy director of the Bachelor of Commerce. In order to be an industry professional, you need to do we have two wings, one called Bachelor of Commerce and as the Bachelor of Business. But if you want to be a professional, you need to go for Bachelor of Commerce. In the Bachelor of Commerce, there's 8 or 9 major units that you can do, which is accounting, economics, finance, financial planning, management, marketing. And each of these degrees have accredited by the professional bodies. So this is the pathway to become an industrial professional, and eventually you can climb up the ladder to become a CFO or other post as well. But the pathway is to take the Bachelor of Commerce and take one of these major that you feel passionate about it, and those are accredited by professional accredited bodies. Thank you.
Thank you, Nabeen. And just to quickly add to that, I mean, if your question is around if you're a non-school leaver and your work experience and you're coming to the university, then I would also add that, you know, there are various, there's an alternative pathway for you to get into the Bachelor of Commerce or Bachelor of Business degrees. I mean, you can pursue a certificate or a diploma at some of the TAFE institutions that are affiliated with Deakin. And you can also use your work experience as one of the inputs going into the admissions process. Okay, now Sylvia also has another question for us, And they're asking, can I complete another major alongside the major in economics? So Sylvia, the answer is that yes. I mean, there are. I mean, regardless of whether you pursue a Bachelor of Commerce degree or a Bachelor of Business degree, there's always opportunity to do double majors. So you're not restricted to just one major. You can pursue multiple interests. We wait for some more questions. Okay, now we've got a question from Penny. And Penny is asking, what career opportunities are there after completing the economics major? So Penny, the thing is, economics is a very diverse discipline. And the thing is, what economics gives you is a whole set of very valuable transferable skills, such as analytical thinking, reasoning, data analytics skills. And the career paths from economics are very diverse. So you can not only the traditional fields where people think economists work, for example, in banks and investment banking, or as consultants in private sector and government policy departments, but there are much more diverse fields such as journalism, working for NGOs, working in an overseas institution like the World Bank, etc. So the career paths from economics are very, very diverse indeed. And the great thing about economics is that you can actually find something you're passionate about, and you can have a good standard of living through that career. Nobeen, do you want to add anything further to that? Or
I'll just let you know that what our students are doing at the moment. We have recent graduates who did very well, right, in the field of, some of them joined in Commonwealth Treasury, some of them joined in Reserve Bank of Australia. One of my students, she was the country director of Visa credit card, right? So there's a diverse field, as somewhat says, but there's no limitation. The main thing is you need to feel passionate about it, and you just go for it, what the Deakin is offering. So we are very flexible. You need to go through the work integrated learning thing. You need to go for the study travel tour, because this actually helps you to get in there. There's no limit, only the sky is limit. So it's up to you at the end. Thank you.
okay, and Bradley, you're pursuing an economics major, and is there something you want to add to this? Or
No, I think that's pretty much covered.
beautiful. Thank you. Okay, now we've got another question, and this question is from Mel. Do you have specific economic electives such as behavioral economics, and do you have to have undertaken psychology at VCE? So Mel, what I would say is that no, you don't need to have taken a psychology course at VCE to study economics major. And the thing is that well, behavioral economics is not an elective that we directly offer within the suite of subjects that we have within the Bachelor of Commerce program, as well as in the sustainability and development major. However, you know, there are various study abroad opportunities at Deakin, and this actually gives you an avenue to go away and study additional subjects in other universities with which Deakin has partnerships available. So once you sort of expand your, Deakin allows you to expand your horizons beyond what we offer, and there are other opportunities available in that space.
Yeah, just to add on that, yeah, it's a great opportunity to do some study abroad, just to get some development from a social point of view as well. And we do have a lot of opportunities overseas coming up over the years since the pandemic sort of allowing us now to travel. There'll be lots of opportunities coming up. Whether that be a short-term 2-week program or a whole trimester, there's heaps of different opportunities that you can take.
Great.
Yeah, and I think just
Sure.
adding on to that as well, like I know personally, I'm going over to Italy next year for 4 months studying, and the university I'm actually looking at does have a sort of a behavioural economics unit to go into, so you've always got that opportunity to have a look overseas too.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, now we've got a question. This is an anonymous question. So we have an audience member who is particularly interested in economic development, and they're wondering if studying a minor in economics will equip them for a future in economic development, or they should go for the major instead?
May I add something
Sure,
here?
sure.
It actually depends what you like to have at the end. Because if you go for major, you have to do 8 course, which means you have to go for rigorous things. Whereas you are going for electives, it basically means, or minor, it requires only 4 courses, right? So now it actually depends on you how far you can go. But if you want to do rigorous and you feel passionate about the economic development, then I would probably recommend go for major economics, but then you can choose other subjects as your electives or as your minors. So we are pretty flexible on that way. And there's a whole bunch of students who are also doing the double degree. For example, I have one student in the morning, he's doing economics, but at the same time taking law as well. So 2 majors. So it's up to you how you do that. But I would recommend, if you're really passionate about feel passionate about the economic development, go for 8 major courses, and then the minor, you can choose another 4 courses with other subjects that you are interested in. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, we've got a question. Are there economics units within Deakin Accelerate and the VC Extension Studies program? Okay, so what I mean, generally speaking, we certainly have historically offered 2 of our subjects are part of Deakin Accelerate program, and however, because 2 key units which are part of Accelerate program are going to undergo some course revisions, so for 2023 we won't be participating in the Accelerate program, but we certainly have plans to rejoin that program from 2024 onwards. So just for next year, we'll take a pause, but we will be back from 2024.
And I also like to add that, for example, this year, I'm taking the ME 101, and there's 3 students who are doing acceleration, and they're coming from the Melbourne High School, one of them, and they're doing excellent result in there. In fact, I know for sure one student get 90%. So this is a great opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to just add to that, because in 2020 I did do this program with economics as well. So I know at least the previous units that were there, it does lead in quite well with what you do in VC as well, because it is sort of the foundations of micro and macro that were covered. So it really does sort of interlink with it, and it's not going to counteract with anything that you're learning at a high school level either.
Okay, now we've got a question. What sort of double degrees are offered and how long do they take to complete?
May I add that question? Okay, we have quite a wide range of double degrees. As I said, that when you do the majors, you have to do 8 more courses, right? So you need to keep that thing in mind. So it requires 8 and 8, but it might take 3 to 4 years. And we have a quite range of diverse. For example, you can do Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Commerce, and another major is Business Analytics. You can also choose Bachelor of Commerce and Laws, right? When I say Bachelor of Commerce, I obviously mean is the economics, because economics is part of the Bachelor of Commerce. Then you can also do some science subject as well. For example, economics and nutritional science, if you like. You can also do the property and real estate if you're interested, health and health promotion, and also the international studies. So there's no limit for that. We also have a double major, say, for example, Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Media Communication, right? And Bachelor of Commerce, and also the Bachelor of Journalism, which you call Bachelor of Communication. So it's a wide range of things. You can choose law, you can choose arts, you can choose science. It's up to you where you feel passionate about.
Yeah, and just to very quickly add to, so in terms of how long would it take, it'll basically take an extra year. So normal bachelor's degree is 3 years, but this will be an extra year. But then at the end of that process, you will have 2 degrees and a much broader pool of careers for you to access. Okay, so we've got this question. What are the differences between doing the economics major in the Bachelor of Business and the Bachelor of Commerce? So What I'd say is, well, there's a bit of a difference there, because within the Bachelor of Commerce, we have a straight economics major, because the commerce degree has a focus on professions. And so you basically get a major in each of the core business professions, whereas Bachelor of Business tends to be a more sort of practical, innovative majors, which are, and so within that context, the major that we offer is the sustainability and development major, right? So if you have a strong interest in environmental sustainability and development issues, that's a major that you can consider pursuing within the Bachelor of Business. So there's a slight difference. It's a more applied major, particularly tailored to sustainability and development issues.
And in addition to that, I also like to add our director's view about the Bachelor of Commerce. As I said, that the Bachelor of Commerce is more like a professional, it is a vertical, whereas Bachelor of Business is kind of horizontal thing. So if you want to be a manager, Bachelor of Business probably the one way to go, but if you really want to be a professional, like a CFO or economist, then Bachelor of Commerce is the another way to go. Now, bear in mind, Bachelor of Commerce also required the higher HR. So basically, in order to be a professional, you also need to be a very good quality of what do you call the high HR, which reflected in your ability as well. So you need to keep that thing in mind as well, right? So that's the another important point here. Thank you.
Okay, now we've got a question. Can you talk a bit about what the internship units are and how long they take to complete?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so internships are a unit where you'd work within an industry, a job, like say once or twice a week, as well as do your study. So you're sort of learning the ropes and how the skills build your skills up within that job. So we do have three main sources of internships. So the main one is we have an entry-level consultation experience where like you'd act as a consultant at like a really big firm, like such as Deloitte or KPMG. Like we've had lots of students who have done internships with them and who have come out of their degrees and got jobs out of that. So it's a really competitive edge by doing that. We also do have an international consultant experience. So you'd learn the business problems within an international company, whether that be virtual or travel, which will be something coming up in the future as well. And then thirdly, we do have the more advanced. So you work within an external company on more advanced sort of problems. And yeah, it's a real way to sort of build on your skills, experience, and get that real competitive edge over other students when applying for jobs after your degree, because it's a real competitive nature these days that you need to have that competitive edge going further. And they do we do have internships that may be 2 to 3 weeks overseas. Otherwise, we do have the like trimester-long internships, the standard ones. So there are a lot of different internship options that you can have.
And Chris, there's a follow-up question on internships.
Yep.
So does Deakin help me find internships, or do I have to find them myself?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, we do have both opportunities. So if you find that you're working for an organization and you'll be able to do an internship with them, then you can source that yourself. Otherwise, we do have many different opportunities from a faculty-led point of view that we will sort out the right internship for you to make sure that it fits within your degree and it's something relevant to what you're currently doing. So yeah, there's heaps of different opportunities, even if you can't find your own internship.
And may I add one thing, Bradley? You have attended one of these 2 weeks consulting thing, right, with the foreign firms in work integrated learning. Could you please share your experience as a student, what you have learned, so that the students will learn about it? Thank you.
Yeah, so Deakin offer a couple sort of different consultancies, as Chris was saying, and I actually applied for one that was involved with Disney. And I sort of didn't get into that, but Deakin sort of approached me and sort of went, well, we've got this other program that's doing the same thing. So I got to experience doing a consultancy with an accounting firm over in the UK, in Norwich. So I got to interact with 3 other students from Deakin, all varying levels and different faculties. I know there was one at master's level, there was one that was living in Sydney. So number one, I got to, I guess, learn how to communicate and timetable and organize all my time around working with them. But then also I got to sort of get insights into the business world overseas and get that opportunity over there. And it was also help provided by the university over there. So we got help from their staff as well, as long as our Will team here at Deakin as well. So we had staff from both universities that really helped us sort of get through and get the most out of it. And we had really good feedback from the company.
Great, thank you. Now, there's a question. Can we talk a bit more about study abroad opportunities offered?
Yeah, sure. So we will be having, like, obviously over the pandemic, it's been a lot of sort of virtual offerings recently, but now we're going to have like a combination between virtual and now the startup of travels happen now. So we're going to have many different opportunities next year and even the end of this year as well. And that'll be for like short-term study tours, just like what Bradley was talking about before. So there'll be heaps of different opportunities everywhere around the world. Like we've got something happening that potentially for UK, India, more and more in the Asia sort of regions, and also America as well. So we've got some great plans coming up in the future. And there's also that trimester abroad that students can take within the Deakin Abroad team. So there's heaps of different opportunities for students to look at.
Yeah, just to sort of add to that, I guess you'll have your sort of opportunities where you can go over for sort of those 2-3 sort of weeks and intensively complete a unit over in another sort of country that I know. I've got a friend that's leaving next Thursday for one. So yeah, you've got the opportunity to do that, but also, as Chris was saying, you've got a whole sort of a trimester that you can go explore, and you really get to explore, as we were mentioning before, different units that may not be offered at Deakin. So especially one thing that I found very helpful with the commerce degree is that you have electives as well. So maybe sometimes they're not going to directly relate to economics in terms of what's in our degree. But if you've got electives as well, you can really get to explore some of these other units. So whether it is sort of your behavioural economics or something that's completely different, you have the opportunity to explore something that's taught from an overseas perspective as well. So whether I'm looking at going over, like I said before, to Italy. So they've got stuff about sort of European sort of focused economics. So whether it's the European Union and Brexit and all of that. So they cover a lot of units that wouldn't be covered over here as well.
Yeah, and there's also some study grants as well. So like some programs overseas, they do have grants, like say for a couple of $1,000 you might be able to save on flights just to, and that's more of like another benefit for a student to go overseas and travel and just save a bit of money.
Great. Now we've got this question about what campuses is the economics major offered at, and will this depend on which course I'm doing? So I think, well, the economics major is primarily offered at economics major is offered within the Bachelor of Commerce. So it is offered at the Burwood campus, the Waterfront campus, and in the Cloud campus, which is the purely online study mode. And the sustainability and development major is also correspondingly offered across those campuses. So essentially, yeah, I mean, I think which course you pursue is fundamentally going to influence what majors you can do. But in terms of campuses, I think largely you can pursue them across those 3 campuses. So that's where that would be the answer there. Okay, now we can. So I just, because we are sort of approaching towards the end of the session, so I'd just like to remind the audience that you've got an opportunity to ask us questions by typing into the Q&A channel. So I'd encourage you to please keep asking us questions along the way. And okay, now here we've got a question here. Will online study or having a full-time job affect my ability to do WIL programs and internships?
No, not at all. So we do have lots of different virtual opportunities as well. So students do have that flexibility, even if they're an online student only, they can do a 100% internship online. So we do have that opportunity. Yeah.
Great. Okay.
With the WIL units as well, a thing to add is with the commerce course, we do actually have one unit that's sort of built in the terms of they'll go ahead and they'll teach you all that you need to know about getting, whether finding an internship or going through your interview process, making your LinkedIn profile. So we've got a whole unit that covers and getting you ready for that workplace experience. So you can get out and have a look. So while you in your degree, you can have a look and you can complete these experiences.
Okay, now we've got a question about what sort of VC subjects are a good foundation for studying economics?
Yeah, I can jump in with that one. So, of course, a nice little foundation subject for studying economics at university will be studying economics at a high school level, because a lot of the information does cross over. Even doing sort of a third year unit at the moment for economics, it's still crossing over the content that I learned over in year 12. So that's firstly one that'll help a lot. But otherwise, even if you have a look at sort of our website, we'll have subjects that are offered for selection adjustments. So if you're doing well in some of these units at a high school level, it'll help sort of boost up your score a bit when applying for the course. So I know for the Bachelor of Commerce, while maths methods isn't a required subject for a prerequisite, if you're doing well, if you get over a 30, I think it is, you get an extra sort of the 3 aggregate points, or I think it's similar with business management and some of the other Englishes, but otherwise I think that information technology will help boost it as well. And I think a good score in further maths helps it too. So some of those subjects, as much as they'll also cross over with some of the content with like regression and further, or your management sort of things in business, as much as they'll cross over, they'll also help you sort of get into the course with some adjustments that way.
Okay, now, so I guess the other question that we've got is, how does Deakin help students transition into the first year? What sort of support is provided so that students can transition from and adjust to university life?
Yep, so we've got a lot of mentors. So initially, especially even if you're not coming out of a high school level in particular, we've got sort of your writing and maths mentors. So maybe you haven't been at school for a while and you've got to write an essay for an assignment. You're going to have someone that will sort of teach you the ropes of how to write an essay again if you haven't done it for a while, or if you're doing some units with maths, or I know there's some economics units that are very maths heavy. You have people that will be able to help you with that. But we also do have sort of more general mentors too. Like we've got our business and law mentors who you'll be able to speak to current students who are sort of a couple of years ahead of you. And they'll be able to talk to you about the experiences they had when they've started the degree. I know when I did my accelerate, they made sure every single one of us had a business and law mentor. So someone would have their number, their email address, and even just the small things about, am I submitting this assignment correctly? All the way up until sort of getting what would you do socially? How do you make friends? They can cover a lot of different areas like that too.
And we've also got some great academics as well who will be able to assist as well if the students having any trouble with their assignments, and obviously they can go to them as well. So, and yeah, it's a great support system.
Great. And then we've got a question also on what sort of career opportunities can I expect after graduating? And so I think in some sense we, as we had mentioned earlier, I mean, economics gives you broad set of skills, and there's a whole diverse set of career opportunities that you can pursue along the way, beyond the traditional investment and banking sector to working as a consultant in the public or the private sectors. You can be working for the World development bank. There are opportunities for you to go abroad and pursue a career. So that's one of the key selling points of economics, is that the career opportunities are very, very diverse. And I guess in that relation, the Deakin does support employability, sort of one of the key themes, and Deakin takes it very, very seriously. And we have Deakin Talent, which is a dedicated organization within Deakin itself, which connects with students and help them build their profile towards employability. And that's something that that's a big positive about being a Deakin, and the support you get towards building your employability profile.
Yeah, and as I said before, just that competitive edge. If you're interested in doing a study tour, it's a really great thing to do. Great for your resume, development, meet new people around the world, and it counts as a credit point for your degree as well. So if you have an electives in your course, it's a really great thing to consider when you do a degree with us at Deakin.
Yeah, just touching back on Deakin Talent, like they're amazing. Like every job that I've applied for within like the last 24 months, I've like writing a cover letter and I'll send it off to Deakin Talent and they'll sort of read it over and be like, cool, maybe fix up this little area, and really get to fine tune my skills at writing sort of the cover letters and even my resume. And Deakin Talent are a resource that I'm going to have for the rest of my life. It's not going to be something that once I've graduated from Deakin that they're going to sort of leave me. It'll be maybe I've gone into a career and I haven't sort of really enjoyed it, and 10 years later I come back and I'm like, cool, how can you help me? Sort of what opportunities are there? They'll still be there for me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we've sort of come towards the end of this session, and I'd like to thank all the members of the audience. Thank you for taking your interest in economics, and thank you for all the great questions that you asked. And I'd also add that if there are any further questions, there are experts available at Deakin to answer your queries at any time. And please feel free to ask any further questions in the yellow web chat bubble and at the right-hand corner of your screen, and someone will be able to help you with that. And particularly also if you're an international student, there's a dedicated helpline available for you to answer queries for issues that you would consider. So again, I'd like to thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you at Deakin in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.